on Thursday night at 9:30 on TG Car. It's the latest episode of TG Car's legendary Gaelic football and hurling documentary series called Laochra Gael, obviously camogie and women's football as well. And I'm delighted to say that Bernard Flynn is the latest star of the show, and he's with us this morning. Bernard, good morning to you. How are you getting on?
Good morning, Ger. Thanks a million. I might be a little bit of a gate crasher, but there's a good few Meath men ahead of me in the queue for that. But I was asked, and that was it. I'm sort of grateful and delighted, but definitely I think there was more deserving than me. But still, I'll be there tomorrow night, and hopefully people might get something out of it.
I think they will. I don't say this lightly. It's been by far the best GAA documentary series ever. It has longevity. When you think back to the very first ones, like, no one was doing it, and they've kept at it, and they've really got under the skin of a lot of different people. So when you got the call, I'm sure you're like, well, what was that actually like?
Great question, because I was shocked, I'll be honest with you. I was very shocked. I thought it was a joke, first of all. I thought it was a stitch up. Somebody, I'd be known to do an odd one myself. So yeah, I was a bit surprised, and it's different, Gerard. I'll tell you why it's different. Like, if I was speaking, I was asked to speak about a friend or a fellow player or an opponent, or about matches or games or commentary. But this was different. It's about yourself. And Ronan and Sarah, it's only when you're there with them, the effort that these guys put in. They couldn't fit everything in, Gerard, to be honest with you, but they put a program together and they've done a great job. But it is about yourself. It's raw. It's close enough to the bone. And I was uncomfortable with it a little bit, because the way they ask you the questions and when they sit you down, they really do try and get inside to know the person in there somewhere, which probably every one of us have our guard up a little bit with the sort of commentary or punditry or whatever it may be. So yeah, it was different. And it took me a while to come to terms with it, being honest with you.
I'm sure, and I think it's a very interesting point you make, because the first season was definitely, these are the legends of the game, and it was about their legendary stuff. But the reason it has longevity is that it has begun to tell the stories of people, and it's people as they are now, as well as the superstars they were when they were kids. Let's face it, like, when you broke into the Meath team, you were a kid, and it's a long time ago. And what I'm very interested in is the stuff in the papers this week. You've been talking about the injuries that you've suffered and the consequences of the decisions you made when you were a young man to play football. I think these are really important conversations for us to have in a mature way now, certainly with young players who are coming through, and just even talking with Graham Souness a little bit earlier on. Like, the game is completely different because people are very different now.
Yeah, and thank God they are, Ger. And I wasn't, or I'm not in any way moaning or groaning. It's not me. But I was just being honest, and it's myself I criticised, not anybody else. And it's on reflection. I have 3 kids, 26, 23 and 18, and one of them plays football. He's had horrific injuries himself. It doesn't fall far from the 3, but you try, and it's just, when I look back, is that you wouldn't really change anything at all. But what I would, it's just, you look back and say, wow, it was different. And the men I played with, I mean, I had some injury, but some of the sacrifices, the Jerry McEntees, the Mick Lyons, Colin O'Rourke's, people like that, Mick Lyons, it was just extraordinary. See the lengths that they went to just play with Meath and try and win something. Every single thing else, your body, your health, came secondary. And that's that relayed down to a lot of us in the team. But hey, we had great fun as well as that, Ger. But yeah, it's a look at a draw. I made an awful lot of friends. It was good to me. You get a few injuries, and I didn't mind mine the way I should have done. It's as simple as that.
What sort of lengths are we talking here, Bernard, when you talk about yourself and the likes of O'Rourke and Lyons?
I know, like even Jerry McEntee, I just picked Jerry out, and Colin had a horrific injury, and he would have got, a lot of painkillers, got himself over, played. I mean, there was times I seen him playing when he couldn't walk at times. Myself, I would have got injections very early on from a young age. The program goes through that, but and it just became secondary. That's outside of the team. Myself, privately, just from 21, 22 onwards, with pains in my hip, and didn't think, I got the hip replaced afterwards, but I would have done anything, on anything at the time just to play. It didn't matter. I'm actually trying to explain, and I don't do it that well, if you like, that the mindset back then to do what you had to do just to get in the field, we thought that was normal, and it's wrong, if you like. But today, the whole medical end of it has changed. Like, we'd Sean Boylan, he was brilliant, but you actually I didn't even go to him half the time because I was in such fear of not making a team or being dropped. And hey, you just did what you had to do. But not the cleverest thing at times, but the reward, what we went through sort of outweighed what I went through, and it's as simple as that.
I suppose, Bernard, the point I think that we're getting to now in maturity is that it's not really either or. The kids today, for example, shouldn't have to go through what you guys went through. They should still be able to achieve at the end, or you know, maybe they don't play the full game, but they play a certain amount of minutes, and the squads are bigger. And you know, I guess we just need to kind of slightly alter the culture a little bit, where you are, you know, scared to go to the management. I would hope that your kids, the under-20s you're training, feel like, look, I can go to Bernard and say I'm not feeling great today, and you're going to take on board the lessons of your own life.
I know that's done and dusted. That day is gone, Ger, I can assure you. Absolutely not. I mean, I'm even dealing with a few injuries with guys, and I become nearly half obsessed. Are they okay? You're looking after them. You do anything you can to make sure they're okay. No, that culture has changed quite a long time. It really has, and it's just the way of the world. It's like it's like people were different. It's just, you know, at that time, the people and everybody, you know, we were the best looked after team. We were so far ahead of Dublin, Ger, it wasn't funny. They were treated like second-class citizens compared to that Meath team under Sean Boylan at the time. And it was just something I did on my own. It's a personal thing. It wasn't any reflection on anybody.
No, sure. But it's kind of the culture of the time. It's like what you felt you had to do. And I totally understand it. And I know you're not criticising anybody at the time at all. One last thing that I did see in the papers as well is you've got a bad back as a result of this as well. Is that true?
Well, no, I am. Professor Damien McCormick keeps me going every 6 to 8 weeks. But I get 2 epidurals in my back. I was there the other morning. But I've 4 discs on. I've had 10 years of it now. I have to get a spinal fusion, 4-disc spinal fusion, or just keep getting the injections. I'm doing them for about 5 years now. So I've been at 3 specialists. Damien keeps me going. He keeps me walking and talking. Every 6 to 8 weeks I go to him. I get 2 epidurals. It's either that or a 4-disc spinal fusion. We made a decision. He's made a decision that we just keep going as long as we can and put that off because it's probably a 40% success rate. So, yeah, that's part of it. It's just their old injuries. I could tell you about hundreds of county footballers around the country, and that's why I'm going to try and get something going at the end of the show. It opens the door, maybe a little bit about past players. I feel very strongly on it. I have done, and I'd like to put something in place to see could we do something to help as many as we could. That's the gist of the end of the show. But yeah, I have to try. I get epidurals every 6 or 8 weeks. But listen, it's part of my life now. And the good thing is I'm mentally very strong. Those things don't really bother me. It's mind over matter, and it's my shit to sort out and my problem, not anybody else's.
No, but it's interesting that you're using it as a means to try and engage the community and that tribe of people who, like, we do look back on the TG Car, the All-Ireland goals, and it's bone crunching and it's no quarter asked or given, and there's sometimes full-out brawls, and it seems like a different era. And for us it was entertainment, but for you guys it was your life.
Yeah, probably the injuries is one thing, but when I look back, probably the biggest regret, Gerard, would be my hatred of school and the academic side of it. And Bobby O'Malley, myself, talk a bit about that in the show, is that, like, I literally did not care about school. I hated it. All I cared was 7 days a week kicking the ball to get on the Meath team. When I left school, I just went into a job that I didn't like. I hated, and didn't care about college. All it was football. And I think a lot of people from that era, you know, didn't probably think enough about that end of it in the future. And when the crash came, it goes through. I turned it sort of around and got into business and worked very, very hard. I built a very successful business and then lost it all. So the academic side of it and, you know, education is something at my age now, and I know many of my fellow inter-county footballers I played with and against would regret maybe not having something to fall back on. So I think that's a big thing. That's probably my biggest regret or loss. But listen, you can't have it every way. As Vela says, you own your wins and you own your own losses. So you you make your own bed and you lie in it.
I know, Bernard, you've had your issues with the GPA over the years. It seems to me that some of the stuff that you're talking about is stuff that they're trying to address. They have 300 scholarships, and maybe is it 300 this year? It's going to be 600 next year for inter-county players to go to college. Is there any sign of peace between you and the GPA? Is there a possibility that like you could actually come together and work these out?
Jared, I didn't know you were going to ask me that question. I no real gripe as such. Okay, I wrote a lot of different things about the GPA. The GPA did brilliant work, and I've wrote umpteen articles on it. I'm not going through it all now this morning. It's not the morning for it, but I felt it lost its way over the last number of years, and definitely when got inside the tent, if you like, with Croke Park and under the umbrella, I felt, to me, the GPA is the GA now, and the compromise. That is the bottom line. My issue with it going back with the GPA, and I don't think I've said this anywhere else, is when I was asked, firstly, to come on board, I went on board as secretary of a past players sort of fundraising stroke benevolent fund to try and get something going. It's all right having functions and this, that, and the other. I'm a doer, and it's about raising money and helping people substantially. And I would have got letters for a long, long time, umpteen of them still coming in about players way, way worse than me, far worse than me. I'm one of the lucky ones. And I just felt, and I said it to Desi and Sean Potts at the time, I walked away because I felt it wasn't doing what it was meant to do, straight up. And I felt I was going to be wasted there. I brought a lot of good inter-county players in on board. And while it was fun and crack, it wasn't doing, and still isn't, in my opinion, looking after past players remotely the way we should. And I wrote to Larry McCarthy the other morning, emailed him, expressing a long, lengthy email about sort of the ideas I have, and they have to come on board officially themselves. But the GPA are not going to sort out past players. They're doing what they can do for some of the present in the county players, but they're not going to sort out past players in the way I would like, and they would like, and they need. So, and that's the bottom line.
And so maybe actually you're right to go off and do that separately and have a separate organisation for those past players who, let's face it, the GPA didn't exist at that point. So maybe you're right. Maybe that's the best way is to actually go off and plough your own furrow. And I mean, I didn't mean to throw you off there. It was really just that it seems
you're not. I'm glad you brought it up, Jared. It's very, very important. But I do need help. They need help. I'm willing to drive it on. We actually, for 4 years there, we started up the GA's Intercounty Legends Golf Charity event. We raised 300,000 as a small group of intercounty players going away playing golf for a few days. Having great friends, bonding friendships. It was brilliant. For charities winning each intercounty team's choice, it was phenomenal. So it's a great movement. But I just think now is the time to try and do something for our own. And that's what if I do something, that's what I would love to do and spearhead. The likes of Liam Sheedy has told me he'd get in behind it and help out. So if there's any guys out there, please get in contact. You'll see at the end of the show on tomorrow night, that it opens the door. Hopefully we can try and get something done. But we need Croke Park, not lip services. We need to get them to get in behind it properly and to really drive it on as well. That's the only way it'll work.
Do you feel like the under-20s that you're working with now understand the importance of the education, and that football, they should be using football to get an education, as opposed to, so many people are like, go and be a teacher because you get your summers off and it's the perfect job, when actually it's completely the wrong gig for them. They're not suited to a class of unruly 5-year-olds or moody teenagers, and it's not the right thing for them. Actually, the right thing for them to do would be to combine their studies, and all the research shows that high-powered, proper training can be combined with academia. Like all the research shows that you're better academic if you're doing sport, and actually you're better at your sport if you have something to take your mind off. So, are your under-20 clued in a bit more than your generation might have been?
Oh, they all are, absolutely. I had a conversation just last night around 9:30, Ger, with one of the players. The buy-in has been brilliant, super bunch. We haven't even done a trial at this stage, and I actually don't care. There's such a good bunch of young lads, and so honest and committed, mannerly, everything you could ask for. One guy contacted me last night, very good player. He's doing his leaving cert, and he's been putting in a huge effort remotely himself. He's done everything he's asked. and I had a long chat with him, and he wants to concentrate on the Leaving Cert. And I said, I gave him my blessing with a heart and a half. He's underage next year. And I said to him, go away, enjoy it, put the effort in, forget about football. Jared, their exams are way more important than an under-20 team. They're Leaving Cert. I'm very, very strong in that. Even some guys that couldn't commit, I've contacted them. They'll be with us next year. I've chatted to a few of them to see how they're getting on. They're not with us. They're very good footballers. They should be on the squad if they wanted and would be, but I kept in touch and having a chat with them, and that's way more important. So there's no issue with anything like that with me, and there's no pressure from me or the management. So first and foremost, I've learned the hard way, and our priorities are right with the young lads. So great bunch. The young lad last night, had a great chat with him. His father was beside him, appreciated it, and he's gone away now knowing that we can't wait to get him back at the end of the year, and we look forward to having him, and he's doing what's right for him, and he's doing the right thing.
Bernard, what's your sense on how those young lads are getting on a human level, away from school and away from sport even? Because it's an unbelievably important time in a young fella's life, and a lot has been taken away for the last 12 months or so. There's, so many social development aspects of that time in your life. By and large, from your anecdotal evidence, how are those lads getting on?
Yeah, they've been seriously impacted on it. There's no doubt they're quite resilient, and I think we've a far more resilient bunch in Meath than we might realise. I was talking to another manager, he was having a few serious issues with some players, very serious, which he hasn't been so lucky. So overall, I said it, I wrote a piece for Colin Keys last Friday, and I was so annoyed from the GA point of view and government that just to acknowledge this particular bunch. These guys suffered when it went from minor, under 18 to under 17, a number of missed out, Leaving Certs, the pandemic, college last year, none, no college virtually this year, living at home with parents, no money, no work. So they're seriously impacted. My point of last week's article wasn't me, myself. It was for all the managers and the under 20 players, those 18, 19-year-olds. I felt that they were isolated, they were neglected, they were forgotten about. And if Croke Park decide to pull the under 20s, knowing what they should know, and the government knowing what they should know about this particular age group, it'll be a form of treason on that age group, what they've gone through. And I'll tell you, what they've had done to themselves, I think they've been brilliant. And to see the efforts that they do remotely to try and get on a field, and the effort they put in through every county, the least Croke Park can do is put on the under 20 championship and have a bit of respect, considering everything these guys have endured over the last 12 months. It hasn't been easy, but I think Croke Park, to neglect them and make no reference to them last week in their statement, and the fixtures committee, was completely a lack of duty of care, and it was so wrong on so many levels.
When would you like the games to be played? What in the window that you can see now, is there somewhere that kind of sticks out to you fairly obviously?
I personally don't care when they're on, Jared, but you have to have respect to clubs first and foremost. There's only two windows I see, Jared. That is July, August. You can't interfere with the Leaving Cert, and that is I feel strongly in that. July, August, which it might clash with the Intercounty Senior, which I think would be wrong. We've four guys on the squad, our four best players, 4 best players. I do think at the end of the year is the only other option, October-ish, and then you're in clashing with clubs and stuff like that. It's not going to be easy, but if there's a will, there's a way. They're the only two windows I see, Ger. But the Croke Park and the government have got to put this competition on. I really mean that. And the minors as well, to be fair. So it's not easy, but if there's a will, there's a way. And this particular age group deserve it and need it.
Have you guys been, obviously no one's been allowed to train, but will you be allowed to train next week or the week after, whenever everything?
No, we're not, Jeremy. We won't be breaking, I can assure you. We've discussed it with the management up and down, Zooms with the players and everything else. And it's frustrated, but we are where we are. And if we only get a month, I've made a decision, and I'm sure other managers, the last thing in my mind is about playing the game. It's getting the guys on the field. But how ludicrous is this from a government point of view and a GA point of view? That next Monday night, 19-year-old can train with the Meath seniors. He can't train with us, but he can train with the seniors. His fellow clubmate and friend that's 16, 17 can go back and play in pods of 15 and train with his club, but his teammate who's 18, 19 next door and up the road cannot train and is not allowed to train. You couldn't make it up how ridiculous and how contradictory the whole thing is. It's madness for young people.
The fixtures are starting to trickle through, Bernard, for the National League. There's going to be a championship draw the next week. When it comes to the life of an inter-county senior footballer this year, Bernard, do you think they'll be satisfied by the league and championship format that the GAA have set forward for the coming months?
Under the circumstances, the number I know, and I speak to quite a few of the senior boys, a few from different counties, I would know, and I think they will be happy. The one thing about GAA players overall, I mean, they take anything they're given, if you like. When do you hear, compared to other sports, they very seldom raise their head above the parapet. They take what they're given. I think they'll be happy. I think the structure and the way it's condensed, and Croke Park have done a lot of good. I think they've got this quite right, this end of it, from the seniors league, the 15th, 16th of May with the football, the week before with the hurling. Then the club has its 3 months. The club players now know, August, September, October, my own young lad is well placed, and they know there's structure there for them all. So that's not a problem. The players won't have a problem with it. They'll get on with it, as they always do. It's just this particular age group, I felt, and the minors were totally neglected. But they've got that right, and I think everyone will be thrilled to get it back. But why in God's name did Croke Park and the GAA not fight to keep the elite status when amateur, male and female teams have it throughout Ireland, and we don't? We should have fought harder for that.
Bernard, Laochra Gael, it's a real testimony. I mean, we didn't even talk about the quality of the football. We'll get to do that again sometime, but...
some of it was shocking, Ger. Don't worry. Not joking.
The highlights reel will be brilliant. Don't worry. And I'm sure the edit will make it look good. They can fix it in post.
The only thing, Ger, I have is I'm heading away for a day or two because there's people and bits of it left out that probably should have been in, and my phone will be off about 24 hours after. You needn't worry.
Oh, look, you can always stick it on Twitter. The following people were edited out. I did pay full thanks to them. That's the joys of social media. Give you a get out for that one. Bernard, great to have you on. That was brilliant. Thanks a million.
Cheers, lads. Keep up the good work.
And
Thank you.
Congratulations on the show. It's not an easy thing to talk about yourself and to be honest about it too. So really looking forward to that. As I said, Laochra Gael, an astonishing body of work when you think about what they've actually done to chronicle the lives of so many brilliant GAA people. OTB AM live in association with Gillette. Good morning. Start with Gillette, giving you the confidence to tackle the day ahead.